Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Troilus and Cressida, and we get to hear from Troilus and Cressida today. We are in Act 3, Scene 2, which is the scene where they get to come together. And remember, she was nervous because she was afraid that once he found out that she liked him, then he wouldn't want her anymore. He's just been really excited to meet her. And we have Pandarus standing there being a little bit of a creepazoid, a little bit of a pimp through this whole thing. But the two of them came together and Pandarus gave them a moment to talk, and they actually talked, and Pandarus was a little bit surprised by that. He expected a little more, pizzazz. And so he comes back into the room, and she finally confesses that yes, she has been in love with Troilus for a very long time, but that was yesterday's monologue. And she was also like, oh my God, I'm saying too much now. Please just tell me to shut up. Just make me stop. So he shuts her up by kissing her, and she's like, then I wasn't going for a kiss, and I've said too much, and this is really embarrassing. And she's going on and on like that. And Troilus and Pandarus are both like, no, there's nothing, like, this is fine. This is good. And she's like, well, I've probably said way too much, and I was hoping that maybe you also felt the same way, but obviously since you're not saying anything or not reacting, you can't be both smart and in love. That's too much for a man to be smart and in love. Only gods are able to do both. And Troilus says, oh, that I thought it could be in a woman. As if it can, I will presume in you, to feed for aye her lamp and flames of love, to keep her constancy in plight and youth, outliving beauty's outward, with a mind that doth renew swifter than blood decays. Or that persuasion could but thus convince me that my integrity and truth to you might be affronted with the match and weight of such a winnowed purity and love. How are I then uplifted? But alas, I am as true as truth's simplicity, and simpler than the infancy of truth. In that I'll war with you. Oh, virtuous fight! When right with right wars, who shall be most right? True swains in love shall in the world to come approve their truths by Troilus, when their rhymes, full of protest, of oath and big compare, wants similes, truth, tired with iteration, as true as steel, as plantage to the moon, as sun to day, as turtle to her mate, as iron to adamant, as earth to the center, yet after all comparisons of truth, as truth's authentic author to be cited, as true as Troilus shall crown up the verse and sanctify the numbers. So what Troilus is saying here is, it's maybe a little bit of a backhanded compliment at the beginning, because she was like, men can't be both wise and in love. And he's like, oh, I thought that women could because you are, right? You're beautiful and you're smart. And I was hoping that I would find somebody that could give me back all of the wonderful things that I have in the same way that I'm able to give them. But I guess that I'm just stupid. And she's like, you're not stupid. And he's like, well, okay, if we're both right, then who's the most right? But what I will tell you is that I, Troilus, am the most true and the most in love, to the point that when people are making comparisons, it's going to become cliche in the future for people to say, as true as Troilus. So he's saying that yes, he does love her very much back in the same way that she is in love with him. So of course she has to respond with a monologue, and that will be tomorrow. But before we get there, I do want to point out, I do want to just put in the back of everybody's mind, because I have compared this play to Romeo and Juliet a couple of times, and there's plenty of people that throw in the Romeo and Juliet sort of element, that I just want to remind people that Shakespearean male romantic leads don't tend to be the most true in their affections. I mean, even Romeo was in love with Rosalind before he fell for Juliet, and that took like 30 seconds for him to forget about Rosalind and all that sort of. Yeah, so just keep that in mind as Troilus is saying that the phrase "as true as Troilus" is going to go down in the ages as being one of the great cliches, one of the great tropes. Just keep in mind what Shakespearean male romantic leads generally are. And tomorrow we'll get to hear Cressida's response to Troilus's profession of love in today's. So I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.